Tourism in Greece has been the key element to economic activity in the country, and it is one of the country's most important sectors. Greece has been a major tourist destination and attraction in Europe since antiquity for its rich culture and history, which is reflected by large parts of its 18 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, amongst the most in Europe and the world, as well as for a long coastline. Many islands and beaches, and the Egernoi Beach stands in Sand Beach is like one of the island of Likikada, noted for its blue crystal waters. It's a popular tourist destination. Greece attracted around 26 million visitors in 2015 and 30 million visitors in 2017 and over 33 million in 2018, making Greece one of the most visited countries in Europe and in the world, and contributing 18% of the nation's gross domestic product. Its capital cities, Athens, as well as Santorini, Mykonos, Rhodes, Corfu, Crete, and even Chalkidikes are some of the country's most major tourist destinations. In recent years, Greece has also promoted from religious tourism and pilgrimages to the religions, and even been significant historical religious precedents, such as the monstrosities, the Meteoria, and the Mount Athos, in cooperation with the countries. I was one of those tourists. It was around 11 p.m. at night, and I was walking back to the Royal Olympic Hotel for partying with the Patrimon with their friends. My bottle of Bacchanoid in hand, I was a little tipsy and I just vomited my guts out, getting really small and specks of puke on my shoes. I dragged my feet as I walked, and I looked around Greece to look up the houses on the Christmas night. After at least 14-minute walk from the Parthenon, I looked up at the hotel's building and saw something in the mid-sky. It looked like it was a giant buzzard to me, but due to the midnight sky, it was silhouette amongst the match black patch in the sky was still flying towards the Parthenon. Didn't even know what to think, but I raced up at the large hill and tried to look for whatever I saw. After hours of searching with no luck, now I thought it was just an alcohol that was making me see things, until I heard a slivery dreamlike voice with it shook my entire human diaphragm. What are you doing out so late? I slowly turned to see it had a human head of a male with a buzz cut on its clean shave, and the body of a lion which looked like a hairless, but it had a few strands of its hair on its body. It looked much like a man. It also had large feathery wings, and it was the reason why I was flying around and saw at night. It was the size and length of a monster truck. As it sat up and lowered and over to my small human frame, making me look like a child compared to its monstrosity size, I saw its eyes, and they were shining neon green, and his fangs were indeed a feline, but his ears were large and bat-like, much like the ears of Devon Rex, but it looked as if the ears shouldn't be on a human head. I could feel my stomach churning, and I felt my knees buckle as the creature stared down at me. I know that it's quite shocking, my appearance, but it's not my time with you humans. It's not my first time, at least. I had a frog in my throat, but I finally found my voice, and I was going to say, "What are you?" I asked in a shaky voice, but what it came out was a whimper. What? Indeed, I was scared, petrified even, and I never saw anything like this before. I mean, what the hell was I even looking at? Is this a demon trying to kill me? Drag my soul to hell? It's a figment of my drunken imagination? These questions bubbled inside my brain as I looked into its eyes. What am I? The creature asked, obviously dumbfounded. However, didn't know what I was going to say. Already the mighty Sphinx at your acquaintance. I just blanked. I thought the Sphinx was a real myth, but apparently not. And I asked, then you probably are going to ask me a riddle then. Then let me go get eaten and I'll get the answer wrong. The creature burst out into a maudlin laughter, which had somewhat put me at ease. Oh Zeus, is this a joke? It amused itself, clearly amused by the lack of awareness towards higher beings such as itself. No, I don't do that anymore. It's a common misconception, however, it proceeded to note. You see, sphinxes are lamusu, and whatever, we are some kind of weird kind. We used to ask riddles to people, but we just got bored soon after that. And there is not much of concept of killing or eating those that get the answers wrong, so we just decided to give up on the idea. Everything you know is all about human fiction, it continued speaking. Every time we try asking the riddles to you humans, you die with the fright, and I guess you're just a high laugh enough even to communicate with us. This obviously made a little bit more sense, as it was the opposite from what I was taught my entire life. I wasn't sure if I should believe in the creature or not. After all, it was claiming to be a Sphinx. I guess I haven't noticed a doubt when it was written on my face. It made me a snarky remark towards me. If I was lying, wouldn't be her luring you into a false sense of insecurity right now. You know, eating like live yada yada yada. No, yeah, I get it. You have been entertained to believe in some sort of weird myth story. Mind you that there are millions, perhaps billions of species who are more intelligent than your kind. To be honest, I'm pretty certain that these beings who are more advanced than the gods, somewhere out there are probably beings that are higher of the king of gods himself. I had nothing to say. I was completely shocked by this revolution. While it was on the hand, while the things were saying were making sense, but on the other hand, they weren't making any sense at all. So what does this whole cosmic order thing work then? I asked weakly. Well, anything the consciousness mechanism has, what you could define as soul, it includes me, you, and everything else on this planet, is a complex neutral system. Even Zeus has that sort of thing. Now nothing is really eternal, and eventually everything dies, and at one point everything silent will be passed away, it said. Even Zeus? I wasn't unsure if I wanted to hear the rest of that question, and yet, again, I asked anyway. Yeah, someday in the future, when you are aware that it isn't the creator of everything. As it was obvious that I should have been at this point, but this sequence sent me chills down my spine. Maybe there's a kicker there through that could get one thing that humans can get wrong in a way. The underworld is real, and the circumstances around here is what you got wrong. What do you mean, don't go wicked down there? I asked him in response. Well, not the wicked, but the guilty, it's proclaimed. The guilty? I asked, puzzled. Yeah, if you die feeling of guilt over something, it turns into a negative energy, and your consciousness then goes into the dimension where it gets rid of itself or said guilt. It has been the major thing. However, if you do feel guilty of something extremely minor, you are most likely here to despise into the future. Once it had finished talking about the inner workings of the universe, I looked at it directly with its neon feline eyes and asked, with this much confidence that I could muster, why are you telling me all of this? It smiled. It's because I need your opinion on something. Let's have a walk, shall we? It got up and began walking towards the Parthenon. At first, I was hesitant to do anything but watch it walk for a few moments before I heard them call out to me. Not wanting to make him angry or anything, it was just more powerful than a locomotive. Probably murdered one of them in a minute. I started catching up with it, ignoring the dry puke on my shoes. Once I reached the creature, it was at the temple's entrance, and entered though, a bright light infuriated around me, blinding me for a moment. It felt as if a flash of grenade was thrown straight at me, and the light was so bright it almost burned me alive. After a agonizing few seconds, the light began disappearing, followed by a freezing breeze that sent chills throughout my whole body. Once I regained my sight, I found myself standing in the middle of the similar sight. No way, I blurted out under my breath. You are in Mount Optimus, and this is where it will all happen, the Sphinx announced. I looked around where it was around almost 3,000 meters high, and it was literally on every top of Mount Optimus. Was for anyone who hasn't traveled up in this mountain. There are within 15 minutes for each shover to the plateau of the Muses, and of course with the stunning flat portion of the mountain above the tree line and immediately below the Stefani summit. Both refugees are 5 hours from the Gorsa trail ahead, and only 45 minutes or an hour and a half from the Mika summit, depending on what route you're taking. As I was trying to process whatever was going around me, the Sphinx said, "Tell me, do you believe in all humans deserve to have a second chance?" It caught my eye off guard, but this was probably the easiest answer I could give away on that day. "Yes, I do," I answered, still eyeing my surroundings. Even the sadistic band of the several murder peoples in this world before us, it asked again, pointing at the curving for the earth around us. Yes, even them. If you have to say about if it's true, they should be disdained and tired, or tried it even, but they don't even deserve to live. Killing them won't make it even better. It was still easy in my question, but I don't believe in killing would be ever the savage anything. I doubt the death penalty was good to get rid of ourselves and the crime we could commit this way. I see. Then follow me. I need to show you something that might change your mind, the Sphinx said again, walking towards the edge of the cliff. I stumbled after that. The alcohol I consumed earlier was starting to take effect again. The bright light blinded me again, and this time I was surrounded by a pitch-black darkness. The floor felt wet, as if I was standing on some sort of pool. I could hear the Sphinx. Its voice was echoing in the darkness. Hang on, I'll try to turn on the lights. As the lights in the room finally lit, the torches surrounding the place were almost disgusting green, and I was indeed standing in the pool, but under the ground was the water in inky black. Damn, it smelled like piss. I followed the Sphinx down towards the mammoth caverns and saw a large cove with water that looked almost like either vomit or urine, or is it both? What is this place? I asked, not sure and if any of my surroundings. This is the underworld, the Sphinx announced. This is the place I explained earlier, yet not as hostile as you may humans describe it, but it's not the faint of heart. I continued to look around my surroundings and saw what the meant of it. It's not the faint of the heart. The skeleton creature then swarms in the waters, rose out of the depths and stumbles towards me, moaning and groaning like zombies as they shuffled through the day with the murky waters. I backed up and fell backwards on the water and asked the Sphinx if we can continue. It agreed and went on the way, and the creatures following us very slowly. We went down a very long cavern, countless candles lined up against the opposite sides of the walls. Horribly decomposed bodies were dangled around the ceilings of the pond with their lights lit up as they looked down on me. I even think hear them one of them say weakly, "Help! Please help me!" I shuddered as the corpse said this, but I kept walking, not leaving the Sphinx's side. Until then, we entered some sort of humongous chamber filled with bats, spiders, and, to my honor, great giant three-headed dog known as known as Cerberus. I kept myself close to the Sphinx as we walked again, and suddenly I heard a vigorous, bearded man with pale, cold skin and wore a dark gray robe with Greek sandals. He even had gauntlets. He even had his eyes filled with so much malice. It was gut-wrenching. The Sphinx then looked down at me and said, "I would like to introduce you to Lord Hades." I looked up at my head in disbelief. I was meeting the god of the underworld. I watched him walk towards me. Every step he took made a knot in my stomach grow tighter and tighter as he came closer, sword on his side as the scepter, and he gripped it tightly on his fist. I cleared my throat and said, "Look, I don't want any trouble. I'll leave this if that's what you want." He just breathed through his loud, low nostrils, and his eyes narrowed. "What I want is moral. This is what I see you suffer, and yes, I have suffered, but I have no sense to suffer like this. But none of that matters. The only difference is that my eternal damnation has now been revealed to the immortal of the lights of the pleasure." I guess that's what he meant, but he had been the brother's shadow, and everyone knows he is the bad guy, referred to the media to maximize the profits, like the Disney's version of Hercules. I noticed that the creatures were coming the way. Why are they following me? They're in pain. They need to feast on the blood coursing through its veins. It makes their plan depart from them and staticize their hunger. They need to be servants to God and rebelled against them, resulting in their fall. That was the least of their left of their humanity. It was now a rotten, hollow shell. He raises his scepter and hit the ground a bit and placed it down with a loud click, and with that, the creature stopped for a moment and looked at Hades. He just glared at them, and they just went back to where they came from. Just like that, he didn't have to command them to do anything. Hell, not even to point at the general direction. He just looked at them they were so scared crapless that they just fled back to the grim lagoon where they rose from. I couldn't take the amount of shock value, said to the Sphinx. "No more, please." The Sphinx must have known that I was getting uncomfortable. Most of all, I was scared of my wits, so we went back to the Perpheron. I fell on my knees and tried to comprehend about what the hell just happened. Why did you show me this? Because someone like you needs to know the truth behind the myths, and most of all, the truth behind the world. The truth? I asked, obviously just looking up at the creature right in front of me. What do you mean truth? I don't understand. None of you humans do, it replied. You lived in a lie. You've become prideful, thinking on top of the food chain, and as a result, you seal your own fate by blinding the facts by your actions that will lead you to your downfall. You people are the very dirt which leads you to be formed in. But what you created, Inc., is between you and the primates, and you consistently bicker about which pet is better. Are cats evil, or is it dogs? And to be quite honest, none of them are good or bad, but they just have their own animal on Earth. Want my advice? Just stick to the gods that I have created. Isolate yourself from the world and talk with the other gods. Talk with them and leave them and let them share wisdom with you. You do not want to know what those eggheads at university made you. You're just simply pulling the strings, and it's all simply just an attack from Hades himself. But be what the gods create you and made you, and you'll be thankful for what they've given you your life. I really don't know what to say at this point. It really got me to the gut, and everything that the Sphinx said had made me think twice about things. Things that we got involved, things that we never know that made sense, and the things that we do in this world. I didn't know. I just... Say no more, it interrupted. Some things were just better left unsaid. And then it turned and was about to leave when it called for, wait, just one riddle is all I can ask for. You're joking, it said flatly. No, I'm not. Just one little riddle, and we're done here. No more riddles, I promise. It let out a sigh. And I am peace with the war and God, and I can kill, and I can save. What am I? It's just... It didn't give me out an answer. It just said, this riddle you'll have to figure out on your own. Just think about it. And then it flew away into the night. I was left alone to try to solve this riddle. I went back to my hotel room and tried to solve the Sphinx's riddle. Around the following morning, I watched the news and fought harder and harder until it showed a commercial of GoArmy.com website. Then it hits me. I got the riddle. I soon figured it out words after the ad played it. The answer was people. I wrote down my answer on a piece of paper and drove up to the Percheron and left it on the ground where the Sphinx was once before I left that night. Later that night, I found a note on the window shield of my car and took a look at the surprise and across my face. You're absolutely correct. I'm impressed. And that, my little pretties, was The Sphinx Does Not Ask Riddles, a creepypasta written by The Dark Cat. The Dark Cat, I want to thank you so much for the story. Thank you so much for letting me read this story. This was definitely appreciated, and I really have to say, this was actually a very well made story. I definitely have to say that. This story was absolutely amazing, well done and made. It's just amazing, to be completely and utterly honest. Now, with that being said, I'm going to be explaining what I really liked about this story. For one, that the story is very well detailed, and it's basically talk about the Greek gods and myths and mythology, which is really interesting. I really like the fact that, Greece is actually one of those amazing places to visit. By the way, I should maybe put on my bucket list to visit the Greece someday, but I definitely have to say, the grammar of this story was actually very good, really well made, along with the sentence structuring, the storyline, basically everything about it, of how it went out, is just flat out amazing. Like, I really like the fact that the story actually portrayed really well made detail. It's very explainable, and it actually worked out well with the story. That's definitely that's basically something that I really do like. The best part about this story is that it builds up, and it had a really good build up to the story. And that's definitely positive, because it's building up the story in like a way that made it look interesting. Now, I do have to say that I really appreciated that the good grammar was in the story, along with the sentence structuring and the storyline. And this one is pretty amazing too. Like, the describing and the detail. Basically what happens is the protagonist asks the Sphinx a riddle, but the Sphinx said to figure out on his own. So the protagonist eventually figured it out on his own, which is really amazing, saying to be completely and utterly honest. It's just really amazing to say that they actually, had a good concept behind this. This story I have to say right now that this story was actually really well done, really well made, and I definitely have to say right now that I really have to say that it was really good in resumes to, the good grammar and stuff like that. So I do have to say right now, Dark Cat, you did a really good job with the story, and I definitely have to say this story was actually one of the best ones I've read from you so far. I know there's other ones that you have done, but this one was pretty good in my opinion regard to the movie. So I definitely have to say I really do like it. I do appreciate it. This one was a good story. Definitely really well made and really well detailed. That's a very good thing because, I've seen a couple other creepypastas that has done this before, but I couldn't say which one does better. But I have to say, this story does a whole lot better than the other stories I have done before. Now, I definitely have to say, to the Dark Cat, you did a really awesome job with this story, and there's definitely a lot of great positive feedback of this. Just flat out awesome. That's a very good thing I have to say, was that it's flat out awesome, well done, well made, and it's just pretty good in detail with regards to that. So I definitely have to say, this story was amazing, but it was also a little confusing at certain parts. I think it was just because it was a little confusing, but maybe that's just probably just me, but it was just confusing at certain parts. But other than that, the story actually worked out well. Definitely a lot of time and effort put into the story, so I definitely do appreciate the good grammar and all that. And I definitely have to say, the story itself was absolutely amazing, well done and made. It actually worked out really good when it comes to that, so I can definitely say that this story was actually really good. I really liked it, and I definitely have to say this one was pretty good. So if you guys really, oh yeah, and by the way, like I'm gonna say right now, and like I always continue to say, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. Great story, great concept, really amazing and really well done. So that's definitely a good positive that I have to say. I really like the detailing and everything, and it was pretty interesting to say the least. This one was actually one of the best creepypastas on Spin Pasta I found. If you think this is on Goshia, this is on Spin Pasta. If you guys want to check it out, feel free to check it out, as you will not be disappointed. Alright, I think I kind of already explained what I liked about it and stuff, but if you guys want to check it out, my little pretties, it's on Spin Pasta, so you are all feel free to check it out if you like. And as always, what did you all think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so then you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out of here, and I'll be catch you all in the next video. So peace out, and I'll see you all next time.